It works. Hola, mi nombre es Jacob. That's it, that's all I know.
Eso es todo lo que sé.
That's why I have a translator.
Por eso tengo traductor. Traductora.
I am very nervous.
Estoy muy nervioso, yo también.
I've been to the toilet twice already.
Ya fui al baño 2 veces. Él, no yo, él. Yo estoy bien.
So, please be kind, please.
Por favor, sean amables.
Also, English has a million words, so if Maria doesn't translate well, be kind to her.
El inglés tiene 1.000.000 de palabras, así que si María no traduce bien, también sean amables con ella.
I forgot my Bible, 1 second.
No trajo la Biblia. Sean amables.
Smooth, very smooth. See? So today, this evening, I am looking at Luke 15, 11 to 32.
Esta noche vamos a leer Lucas 15 del 11 al
11 to 32.
Al 32.
To 32. If you don't have a Bible, sit next to a good Christian.
Si no tienen Biblia, siéntense al lado de un cristiano.
So how I see this this preaching of Jesus, this parable, is in 3 acts.
Yo veo esta parábola de Jesús en 3 actos.
Because of time, I will focus more on the older brother.
Por una causa de tiempo, me voy a enfocar más en el hermano mayor.
However, for context, I'll still do the first act, which looks at the younger brother.
Y un poco por una cuestión de contexto, vamos a prestar atención al acto 1 para ver al hijo menor.
So this first act I've named the disgrace.
Así que al primer acto lo voy a llamar la desgracia.
So, the younger brother comes to his father and he says, "Father, give me my share of the estate."
Entonces el hijo menor llega al padre y le dice, Padre, dame mi parte de la herencia.
In modern language, he's saying, "Dad, I just want your money and you've not died soon enough."
En un lenguaje moderno sería, papá, dame tu dinero si no quieres morir. Si no mueres antes, claro, dame tu dinero si no mueres antes.
So as you can imagine, disrespectful, not what you would say to your dad ever.
Así que como pueden imaginar, es algo totalmente irrespetuoso que nunca le dirías a tu padre.
So at the time that this was, Jesus was preaching this, the society suggested that the father would have kicked the son out of the house.
En la época en la que Jesús está diciendo esto, la sociedad imponía que en esta situación el padre debería echar al hijo de la casa.
But he doesn't, and this is what's crucial to the younger brother's story.
Pero él no lo hace, y eso es crucial en la historia del hijo menor.
The father accepts that he's being disrespected, and he still gives his younger brother, the younger son, his inheritance.
El padre se enoja por esa falta de respeto, pero a pesar de ello le da la herencia a su hijo.
So the word here in Greek,
la palabra en griego
is bios.
Es bios.
And it literally means life or living.
Que literalmente significa vida, vivir.
So the father would have had to sell 1/3 of his land.
Así que el padre tenía que vender 1/3 de su tierra.
It's 1/3 because the older brother got twice as much as the younger brother.
Y era 1/3 porque el hijo mayor tiene una parte mayor que la del hijo menor.
So this is a slow process in the community. The the father would have had to gone to his neighbors and explained that his son doesn't want to be with him anymore.
Y eso en esa sociedad era un proceso bastante largo. El padre tenía que llamar a los vecinos y explicarles que su hijo no quería vivir en la casa más, no quería vivir más.
Yet the father still does this. He goes through all this pain and all this disrespect because he loves his son.
Y a pesar de ello, el padre va a través de todo ese proceso con todo su dolor porque ama a su hijo.
So then the next section I come to, in the first act, I've titled The Realization.
La segunda parte a la que quiero llegar es a la que le llamo la realización o la concreción.
So the younger brother is literally with the pigs, which, if any of you know Jewish culture, pigs and Jews don't go too well together.
Entonces el hijo está cuidando a los cerdos y en la religión judía los cerdos y los judíos no se mezclaban, digamos, no estaba muy bien visto.
So he's laying there and he thinks to his father, he wants to say, "Make me like one of your hired men."
Entonces él se propone decirle al padre, haceme como uno de tus siervos.
See, hired men in those days, they weren't servants. They were people that you just paid on a day-to-day basis. They didn't even live in the household.
Esos siervos no eran, trabajaban por día, no vivían en la casa del amo.
So the son, he is so ashamed of what he's done. He doesn't even think he can be in his father's presence, but he still wants to go home.
Entonces el hijo se siente tan avergonzado que él ni siquiera considera la posibilidad de vivir en la presencia del padre.
So he heads home, and this is what I've titled the redemption or forgiveness of the son.
Y ahora viene la parte que trata de la redención y el perdón del hijo.
And verse 20 says, "But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him."
En el versículo 20 dice que emprendió...
¿Sí?
Emprendió el viaje. Todavía estaba lejos cuando su padre lo vio y se compadeció de él y salió corriendo.
So, to see your son when he's still far off, you have to be looking. So it suggests so it suggests that the father was waiting every single day for his son, searching the horizons, looking for him.
Esto demuestra que el padre estaba día tras día mirando el horizonte, esperando a su hijo.
This is not a passive father. This is a father eager to have his son back.
No es un padre pasivo, es un padre que desea tener a su hijo de vuelta.
It then says he ran to his son, which in Jewish culture, men never ran. They walked and the world went at their pace.
Y dice, I didn't get the second part.
They never walk. The world goes at their pace. They choose the speed. Everyone goes at their slow.
Y dice que el padre corrió y en la cultura judía los hombres no corren, sino que el mundo va a su velocidad. O eso entendí yo, no sé.
He then says to his servants, "Bring the best robe," which would have been his robe. It would have been his finest robe that he owned.
Y ahí le ordenó a los sirvientes que traigan el mejor vestido.
So this is the father saying, "I accept you, I receive you, I give you all the honor that you have as being my son, and you can't earn it back."
Y ahí le dice, te acepto, te recibo, te doy todo el honor.
He couldn't earn his respect back.
Para ganar de nuevo el respeto.
So all this happens before the son can even explain himself. This is the father saying, "I don't care what you think, I think you're worthy."
El padre está diciendo, no me importa lo que vos pienses, solamente yo te considero digno.
And then he gets out the fattened calf, which was the most expensive thing you could have. The whole village, all the neighbors, all the family would have been invited.
Y ahí hizo una fiesta, un banquete, que sería lo más caro, en el cual todos los vecinos estaban invitados.
So that's how Act 1 ends, with the son being restored back into honor.
Y así es como termina el acto 1, en el que el hijo es restaurado.
But then the second act, which is the act I want to focus more on, looks at the older brother, which I've titled The Unseen Problem.
Y ahora comienza el acto 2, que es en el cual me quiero enfocar más. Es el que trata del hijo mayor, y a este acto lo llamo el problema oculto.
So, this feast is going on, and it would have been the biggest feast they would have seen for years. Like, marriage feasts and then returning son feasts were even better.
Este banquete es como uno de los banquetes más importantes que uno podría llegar a ver, como que está más arriba de un banquete de bodas.
And yet the older brother, he's outside. He's not come into the feast.
Y así todo, el hijo mayor está afuera, no entra al banquete.
So this physical standing of outside of the feast, he's casting a vote of no confidence in his father.
El hecho de que el hijo mayor esté fuera del banquete demuestra que él no tiene confianza en su padre.
This, you could say, is the first way that the older brother disgraces his father.
Esta es la primera forma en la que el hijo mayor desprecia a su padre.
So this father, then, accepting the disgrace, the shame that is placed, his older brother is giving him, he goes out to meet his son.
Entonces, debido a lo que su hermano hizo, el hermano mayor decide quedar fuera y avergonzar al padre.
He has to walk out of the hall past everyone, and everyone will be looking at him, realizing that his son doesn't love him enough to come in. They would see that this father is being disgraced by his son yet again.
Y todos los vecinos verían que este hijo mayor no estaba entrando a la fiesta, y que de nuevo este padre estaba siendo despreciado, avergonzado.
So within the first few lines of the older brother's story, we see similarities between the older brother and the younger brother.
En las primeras líneas de la historia del hijo mayor podemos ver muchas similitudes con la historia del hijo menor.
So by earthly standards, by money, by wealth, it's understandable that the older brother would be annoyed. His inheritance will be cut again when the younger brother comes back into the family.
Visto desde el punto de vista terrenal, es lógico entender que el hijo mayor se enoje porque de nuevo su herencia tenía que ser dividida.
So this story was as valid then as now. It's just money and family disputes.
Entonces esta historia, de la misma manera que sucede ahora, es solamente una cuestión de dinero.
And then in the older brother's anger, he says, "Look." Now, in this culture, you respected your elders. You would have said, "Great father," "Wise father," and so on and so on. But he says, "Look."
Entonces el hijo mayor le dice al padre, mira, y en esa cultura uno hacia el padre le diría, amado padre, se diría de una manera con mayor respeto, pero le dice, mira.
By every standard, this older brother was disgracing his father.
Para todo el estándar o lo común de la época, el hijo mayor estaba despreciando a su padre.
Sorry.
Perdón.
But the father comes out, and he comes to his older brother.
El padre sale y viene al hijo mayor.
And he says, "Son, you have humiliated me, yet I have forgiven you."
Y le dice, hijo, me has humillado, pero a pesar de eso te he perdonado.
I have forgiven you just like I forgave your younger brother.
Te he perdonado a ti de la misma manera que perdoné a tu hijo, a mi hijo menor.
He's pleading with his son, I want you to come in, find humility, be my son, enjoy this feast.
Entonces le dice al hijo que entre, que encuentre humildad, que se encuentre cómodo, que entre y que sea su hijo y que disfrute del banquete.
And this idea of humbling yourself, you can see it again in James 4:10.
Y acerca de humillarse a uno mismo, en Santiago 4:10 dice,
When it says, humble yourself before the Lord and he will lift you up.
dice, humíllense ustedes delante del Señor y Él los va a levantar, los va a exaltar.
So that's where the story is. The son doesn't make a comment and it just ends. It just finishes there.
Entonces el hijo no quiere entrar y la historia queda ahí.
The reason that it ends, that it finishes so abruptly, is because Jesus is leaving a question in the air. He's cutting it off before the final chapter.
Y la razón por la cual la historia termina ahí es porque Jesús está dejando una pregunta. Él quiere terminar la historia ahí porque deja una pregunta.
He's asking the people who are listening to question and to figure out their own idea of what the next chapter should be like.
Les está dando una pregunta a las personas que están escuchando para que tengan una idea de qué se va a tratar el capítulo que sigue.
He's left the question in the air that if being good as the older brother was still led him to miss out on the feast.
Y la pregunta que deja en el aire es que si el hecho de ser bueno como aquel hijo mayor te deja fuera del banquete,
then surely this brother's idea of good is not the father's idea of good.
Seguramente ese ideal de hacer las cosas bien que tiene el hijo no es el mismo que tiene el padre.
Sí, sí.
Voy a decir de nuevo la pregunta porque creo que quedó enroscada. Él dice que Jesús dejó en el aire una pregunta y es que si hacer las cosas bien según el criterio del hijo mayor que supuestamente hizo todo bien, no te deja fuera del banquete, te deja fuera de la fiesta del Señor, entonces es mejor no hacerlo de esa manera.
Sorry about the drink. My throat is like sawdust.
Perdón por el trago.
So you could summarize what this last section is. The older brother doesn't go in because of his goodness, because he says, because I've never disobeyed you. He thinks the father owes him.
Entonces el hijo mayor dice, yo nunca te he desobedecido, y él cree que el padre le debe a él.
So this then brings us to Act 3, or as I've titled it, so what are you getting at?
Y esto nos deja en el acto 3, entonces, how will you say that?
What are you trying to say?
Es como, ¿y entonces qué quiere decir? ¿Qué estás queriendo decir con esto? Ese es el título del acto 3.
So Act 1, we see people finding happiness through self-discovery, the younger brother going off and trying to find things.
Entonces en el acto 1 vemos a alguien feliz porque busca la felicidad por su propia cuenta. Vemos al hijo saliendo de la casa.
And the second act sees the older brother trying to find happiness through moral conformity or doing good things.
Y en el acto 2 vemos al hijo mayor buscando la felicidad o la comodidad haciendo cosas buenas.
Each believe they are doing the right thing, the correct thing.
Los dos creen que están haciendo lo correcto.
But both times the father is shamed and disrespected for what they do.
Pero las dos veces el padre es avergonzado y les faltan el respeto haciendo lo que hacen.
Because in their hearts both are lost, both wanted the father gone.
Porque en el corazón los dos están perdidos y los dos están lejos del padre.
They wanted him out of the picture so they could get their share.
Los dos quieren al padre fuera de la escena.
Their share, their money, their inheritance.
Así pueden tener el dinero, digamos.
It's just the older brother hid it better, and he waited as society deemed it acceptable.
El hijo mayor hace lo que la sociedad supone como aceptable, hace lo bueno y espera.
So you could kind of summarize the two brothers that they didn't love the father and they were selfish, or they tried to be their own saviors.
Entonces podemos decir que los dos fueron egoístas y los dos trataron de ser sus propios salvadores.
So this next section looks at selfishness, or the idea of saving yourself, being your own savior.
Entonces la próxima sección habla de esto, de no ser tu propio salvador.
I have an apocryphal story which, though it's not in the Bible, it does teach a valuable message in what it says.
Hay un texto apócrifo que no está en la Biblia, pero que enseña una lección interesante.
Jesus asks his disciples to carry a stone for him.
Jesús le pide a sus discípulos que lleven una piedra.
So Peter finds a tiny stone, the smallest one that would fit in his hand.
Entonces Pedro toma una piedra pequeña que entra en su mano.
And then he carries it as they walk all the way through the morning until lunch.
Y la lleva por todo el camino desde la mañana hasta el almuerzo.
Jesus then turns the stones that all the disciples are holding into bread.
Entonces Jesús transforma todas las piedras que tienen los discípulos en pan.
And obviously Peter is hungry because he hasn't got much bread.
Y obviamente Pedro se quedó con hambre porque tenía una piedra pequeña.
After the meal, Jesus says, "Now carry another stone for me."
Entonces después de la comida Jesús les dice, bueno, otra vez lleven una piedra para mí.
Peter, being a pretty wise guy, realizes what's going on and he gets a big stone.
Entonces Pedro se avivó y tomó una piedra grande.
And he carries this stone around for hours and hours and miles.
Y llevó esa piedra por horas y horas y kilómetros y kilómetros.
And then it comes to evening.
Y cuando llega la tarde,
And Jesus says, "Throw it in the river."
Jesús dice, tiren la piedra al río.
Now obviously Peter's like, "What?"
Y obviamente Pedro le dice que.
Peter's like, "I carried this for bread. I'm expecting food. Why am I not getting food?"
Entonces Pedro le dice, yo llevé esta piedra justamente para obtener pan. ¿Por qué ahora no tengo que comer?
And as Jesus always does with brilliant one-liners, he says, "Who are you carrying this stone for? Yourself or for me?"
Entonces Jesús le dice, ¿para quién estás llevando esta piedra? ¿Para vos mismo o para mí?
And this really summarizes what it's like for the older brother. Jesus is saying to the older brother, is he carrying the stone for himself or for his father? Is he doing good deeds for himself or for his father?
Y esto ilustra perfectamente la historia del hijo mayor. ¿Vos estás haciendo esto por mí o por vos?
The older brother thinks the father owes him because he obeyed, because he did his jobs, and because he worked.
El hijo mayor cree que el padre le debe porque él hizo todo bien, porque él fue obediente.
But this idea of doing things that are good, doing things that are really good, great for the community, great for people, but doing them to get a checklist or a tick box, it's basically being your own savior.
Pero esta idea de hacer cosas buenas que son realmente buenas por la comunidad o por otras personas con el objetivo de tener puntos, de sumar puntos, no es una buena idea.
So the older brother's good actions of feeding the poor, clothing the orphan, taking care of the widow, they're not for them, they're for himself, so he gets Christian points.
Porque el hecho de hacer buenas obras, cuidar a los huérfanos, ayudar a las viudas, pero solamente para ganar puntos cristianos.
So if you've ever been in a business agreement, you talk with a business mind. You're giving and you're receiving. It's like a business, basically. It's a deal.
Entonces es como un negocio, es como que vos das para recibir o haces las cosas para recibir algo a cambio.
And this is how the older brother is acting. He's doing good deeds and he's expecting good deeds in return.
Entonces el hijo mayor está haciendo esto, está haciendo obras buenas y espera algo bueno a cambio.
But Jesus is like, hold up, guys, you've got to be talking in a love language, in an adoration language.
Entonces Jesús dice, no, chicos, esperen, te calmas. Deberían estar hablando en un lenguaje de amor, en un lenguaje de adoración.
So, this begs the question, why is it like this? Why is the older brother in a business mindset?
La pregunta es ¿por qué es así? ¿Por qué el hijo mayor tiene este pensamiento como de negocios?
And the best way I can understand it is it's living good and very good lives, helpful to everyone, out of fear, not out of joy.
Y de la mejor manera en que yo puedo entenderlo es que es una vida de hacer todo lo mejor, las mejores obras a partir del temor y no del gozo.
This is honesty and kindness born out of fear. It doesn't root out the selfishness of man. It's a bit like kind of covering over the cut or covering over the spot. It doesn't get rid of it. It just keeps it there, hidden.
Entonces esto no está quitando el egoísmo, este tipo de vida, sino que lo que hace es cubrir todo lo malo que hay en la persona.
Like having a cut, when you pick it, it just gets worse and worse and worse. A cut.
Es como cuando te lastimas y te seguís tocando y rascando, cada vez empeora más.
Basically, you could summarize all of the older brothers' discussion in saying, I am there every time the church doors are open.
Entonces, para resumir, la historia del hijo mayor es como decir, yo estoy siempre ahí cuando la iglesia abre.
And Jesus says, that basically doesn't matter.
Y Jesús responde, básicamente eso no importa.
He's saying their good lives are lived out of, they're not lived out of delight in the good deeds themselves, but as a calculated way to save themselves, which ironically stops them from being saved.
Es una manera de hacer buenas obras de forma calculada en lugar de hacerlo a través del gozo solamente para salvarse uno mismo y que irónicamente terminas perdiendo la salvación, no siendo salvo.
So that's what I take from this parable of Jesus's. However, this isn't just one parable on its own. It's a section of 3 parables.
Y eso es lo que yo tomo de esa parábola, que en realidad es una sección dentro de 3 parábolas.
The previous verses in chapter 15 discuss a lost sheep and a lost coin.
Los primeros pasajes del capítulo 15 hablan acerca de la oveja perdida y la moneda perdida.
In both of them, someone has gone out to find that what was lost. Find the lost sheep, find the lost coin.
Y en los dos casos hay alguien que sale afuera a buscar algo que se había perdido.
Yeah, in this third parable, nobody went out to find the lost brother.
Y en esta parábola nadie salió a buscar al hijo perdido, al hermano perdido.
Jesus is in effect saying somebody should have gone to find the brother.
Entonces Jesús está diciendo de alguna manera, alguien tiene que ir a buscar al hermano menor.
Now, in Jewish stories, in Jewish writing, they had an idea that when you discussed something, it was referencing where it first appeared in the Bible or the Torah for them.
En la cultura judía, cuando se discutía algo, siempre hacía referencia a algún pasaje de sus escrituras.
So we have a story, a parable about brothers. So we have to look at where the first brothers appeared in the Bible, which is obviously Cain and Abel.
Entonces, si tenemos una parábola acerca de los hermanos, tenemos que buscar en el Antiguo Testamento donde tenemos la primera historia acerca de hermanos, que es obviamente Caín y Abel.
And in that story, God says to Cain, you, Abel, you are your brother's, God says to Cain, you, Cain, are your brother's keeper.
Y ahí, en esa historia, Dios le dice a Caín, Caín, vos sos el cuidador de tu hermano.
And like bringing together the two stories, it's showing that the older brother should have gone out to find the younger brother at his own expense.
Y si unimos las dos historias, entendemos que el hijo mayor tiene que ir a buscar al hijo menor por su propia cuenta.
Because obviously it would have cost the older brother. He would be losing part of his inheritance by accepting the younger brother back into the family.
Porque obviamente para el hermano mayor sería una pérdida, porque al traerlo de nuevo a la familia, perdería de nuevo la mitad de la herencia.
Jesus is saying at this point, forgiveness is free to give. It's free for the one who committed the crime, but it costs the forgiver.
Jesús está diciendo, el perdón es gratuito, pero tiene el costo de perder al que perdona.
Now, you see this with charities or things like AIDS, which in the sense that people are giving money, they're giving food, they're giving clothes. It's costing them, but the receiver doesn't have to pay anything.
Entonces eso lo vemos en los eventos de caridad y en los grandes eventos de caridad en donde todos dan algo y el que recibe no tiene que dar nada.
So somebody has to pay, and Jesus is saying a true elder brother would have.
Entonces alguien tiene que perder, alguien tiene que pagar, y Jesús dice que el verdadero hijo mayor debe hacerlo.
Yet the younger brother doesn't have a true older brother. However, we do not. We have a true elder brother. The younger brother doesn't have a true older brother. However, we do have a true older brother.
Entonces el hijo menor no tiene un verdadero hijo mayor como nosotros sí tenemos.
Jesus left this story cut off, missing the last chapter, because he's telling the audience to yearn for a true older brother, to yearn for him.
Jesús deja la historia con el final cortado porque le está insinuando a la audiencia que ellos deben clamar para tener un hijo mayor.
So even at this point, the message that Jesus is giving here is someone pays, and Jesus did it on the cross for us, freely, willingly.
Entonces el mensaje que Jesús está dejando es que alguien paga, y es lo que Jesús hizo por nosotros en la cruz.
So how you can look at this is Jesus has done it as a true older brother, and us, some of us, many of us can be good people.
Entonces nosotros tenemos que pensar que Jesús murió en la cruz, lo hizo por nosotros, y muchos de nosotros podemos pensar que somos gente buena.
We can do brilliant things, but we have to focus on what our heart is in the situation.
Nosotros podemos hacer muchas cosas buenas, pero debemos pensar que es cómo está nuestro corazón.
We have to realize, are we doing this out of a sense that we have to do it or that we get to do it?
Tenemos que tener en claro si lo hacemos porque tenemos que hacerlo o porque queremos hacerlo.
Are we working in the Father's field day after day because we have to or because we want to?
Estamos trabajando día tras día en los campos de nuestro Padre porque tenemos que hacerlo o porque queremos.
Because as it says in the parable of the lost son, everything I have, this is the Father speaking, everything I have is yours.
Porque como dice en la parábola, el Padre dice, todo lo que yo tengo es de ustedes.
This is not something he can earn, he has already got it.
No es algo que hayan ganado, ya directamente lo tienen.
There's a brilliant way to summarize this idea by John Newton, who wrote Amazing Grace, the song.
Hay una frase de Luther, que es el que escribió Amazing Grace, que es Sublime Gracia.
And there's a line from a song, from a poem. Our pleasure and our duty, though opposite before, since we have seen his beauty, are joined to part no more.
Y la frase dice, nuestro placer y nuestro deber, a pesar de que antes eran opuestas, desde que hemos visto su belleza, están unidas para no dividirse nunca más.
So it's finding our duty, which we do have a duty to do good, to help the orphan, to help the widow, to help the homeless. But it's realized that it's a duty that we do willingly and we want to do.
Tenemos realmente un deber que es el de ayudar, el de hacer el bien, pero debemos encontrar también queriendo hacerlo.
Now, in my week here in this church, I've realized so many of you give willingly where you know you can't get anything physical in return.
En esta semana que estuve en la iglesia vi que muchos de ustedes dan mucho, a pesar de que ven que no van a recibir nada material a cambio.
It's beautiful and it's inspiring, and I wish more churches were like your church.
Es hermoso y es inspirador y quisiera que muchas iglesias fueran como esta.
But I just want to place this maybe warning or maybe thought in your head just to keep it as that willing giving, that desire to give, as opposed to we have to do this every week.
Pero quiero dejarles esta advertencia o idea para que quede en la cabeza de ustedes, que es la de tener el deseo de dar, al contrario del tener que dar.
This may not be relevant to anybody here, but you may know someone who it may be relevant to. And that's what I really want to get at there. I know people who it would impact, and I hope some of you do too.
Tal vez esta palabra no sea para ustedes, pero tal vez sea para una persona cercana que pueda ser impactada por ello.
Because when we get down to it, Jesus paid it all, and we can never do good deeds that would equal what he paid.
Porque si lo pensamos, Jesús dio todo y nunca vamos a poder hacer nada que equipare lo que él hizo.
So that's the concept, the idea that I got from this parable is willingly serving with a heart that wants to serve.
Entonces esta es la idea general que saco de esta parábola, que es la de servir de todo corazón.
So, if you guys would like to stand.
Si se quieren poner de pie.
Now you're going to have to bear with me. This may seem weird. If you want to wash your hands, wash your hands. See if they want to.
I asked them to wash the hands.
Yeah, just wash their hands right now.
Entonces, si quieren lavarse las manos en este momento, pueden hacer así, lavarse las manos.
See? And now hang them out to dry.
Y ponerlas del derecho.
So I'm just going to pray for you. Do you want to translate as I go?
I don't know if there was...
Stand like this, receiving.
Que se paren así, simplemente.
So if any of you guys want to pray in your heart, or if you know someone that is on your mind that you think this may have importance to or relevance for.
Si quieren orar en sus corazones o quieren orar con alguna otra persona.
So I just... Father, I thank you that you paid everything for us.
Padre, te doy gracias porque has pagado todo por nosotros.
Father, I thank you that you accept us even if we break your heart by trying to save ourselves.
Padre, te agradecemos porque diste todo aunque nosotros lastimamos tu corazón.
Father, I just ask that my heart constantly yearns to do good for the joy of it, not for the need to do good.
Quiero que mi corazón constantemente quiera servirte por el placer de servirte.
Yeah, Lord, just today, tomorrow, in the years to come, let my mind always think, am I doing this out of love for you or out of an attempt to try and be my own savior?
Y que mi corazón siempre esté el pensamiento, estoy haciendo esto por amor, por deseo o por obligación.
So yeah, Father, as John Newton wrote, Lord, our pleasure and our duty are one, and that is how you intended it to be.
Como John Newton escribió, el placer y el deber son uno, y así es como yo quiero que sea.
This is a journey we walk with you, not a journey we walk for you.
Este es un camino que hacemos con vos y no que hacemos por vos.
And Father, I thank you that you are a true older brother and that you came out to find us.
Te agradecemos porque vos sos el verdadero hijo mayor que salió a buscarnos.
So yeah, in all this I pray in Jesus' name.